Chapter 20 Jai and the Kath Forest. I am indebted to you for agreeing to this detour. I appreciate that your patience with me has not been worn thin, Saba. The vastness of the Vas is behind us now. In its stead, we tread upon a new-to-eye broad prairie. The grasses, tall as to brush against my knees with strange and rising thistles, and the life it hosts, flourishing with insects and critters eccentric and native to this land. The blades of the burgundy turf sparkle in Sa's setting wake, and the reflective shine of the 4 moons. Sprawling roots and vines tumble and cross the spread of it all, seizing the red land and claiming it as its own. I find this peculiar being that there are no trees or shrubs in sight. Taking it all in, the scene inspires me, for it is refreshing to the eye and cleansing of its palate, especially thus for one who has recently concluded his traversing of the broad and monotonous desert. A new type of beauty greets me here. A novel landscape welcomes me. Alas, in the same breath, and for reasons escaping my rumination, a forlorn aftertaste sullies the experience. Saba responds to my gratitude.
Direct that appreciation towards your captain. He withstood a beating that was rightfully ours, and I agree with his sentiment. We would be foolish to believe that either of us stand a chance against Tiamatu. Besides this, we are unsure of what the Scorch Zone holds in store for us. I am in no rush to my death.
My Tamasu companion has been humbled a great deal, most likely due to our encounter with the warring Titans. I myself am grateful for beholding such superb competency of battle. It has put into perspective the potentials of both our races and brings credence to the deific feats and legends of Parias and his era. Perhaps, being such as Eviar and Yindra and their strengths were commonplace in such a time. A baffling thought. So much power unchecked and in abundance across the realm is a terrifying notion. Saba's words ring true, but his form entertains masked ideals. Once more, this truth-seeking question arises, and from within it, it spews a chain to the next, and then another after that, and so forth it goes. What is it that Saba truly yearns to gain from all of this? His behavior was rather inexplicable during some of the more crucial moments of the battle between Yindra and Eviar. To be absent-minded amidst such actions eludes all lenses of my understanding. I simply cannot discern any reason for his heedlessness. Could it be that he genuinely supports the erection of a bridge between our worlds, but also has an subsidiary incentive in its completion? Is there, perhaps, another artifact that I am unaware of? Are there treasures locked away with or around Tiamatu? Is he trying to save someone? Something? Depending on the nature of his inducement, can I truly deny him a reward for aiding me in this seemingly ludicrous and dreamlike odyssey? Saba, N trusts you. I trust you. However, Parias does not. I cannot muster this keen judgment that is alive in me. This is Parias's influence and his words, fomenting and rising from the pit of my soul. Nor could I bar them from escaping my lips. What is said had to be spoken. Saba halts his advance, I alongside him.
Well, then I hope that I shall continue to be presented with opportunities in which I may earn your ancestors' affinity.
He replies with resolve and a gaze befitting of his words. I nod. It is all I can do, for his response catches me off my guard. He truly has been humbled, and yet my gut refuses him. We continue our advance, but stop again after just a few paces. Is not the Kath Forest supposed to be right here, where we stand? The map depicts its location precisely on our mark. I am dumbfounded. This map, so complete and elegant in design, it could not be with a flaw so apparent, could it? It is, after all, as a living and responsive map, one that guides rather than simply informs.
I am unfamiliar with this region,
he admits. This is a first. Until now, Saba has displayed that he is fairly versed in many lands. He is a Tamasu that knew of my home village and its unambiguous location. That was anecdotal evidence of his extended area of knowledge. However, what proves to me that his intellect is unexpectedly far-reaching is his expertise as a guide within these domains. He knows not only of the Tamas territories and the routes of their riders, but even a bit about the uncontrolled lands that both of our ilks tend to stray from exploring. Hence, it was him who drew the lines in the sand, depicting and formulating our path. He has been at the helm, steering the ship this entire while. We ought to use our abilities to scan the area before proceeding, I caution. Saba is already ahead of me, locked in on the vibrations of our setting. I activate my track command and aid him in his search. Immediately, we turn to face each other in order to gauge one another's reaction. He felt what I felt. There's no doubt about it. We both stare at the ground beneath us. The forest? It is under us?
So it seems.
He confirms it. There is an abundance of life thriving below our souls. Saba excavates a ramp-like entrance down into the Kath. I follow his lead. Completing our descent, we are greeted and received by a wondrous sight, and it is one to behold without rush or hurry. Deep under the plains above, a beautiful bouquet of hanging alabaster thickets and fruiting bodies of mushrooms, a color as though snow-capped, sprouting from a gleaming and reflective ceiling, illuminate the clandestine ecosystem around us, pouring forth from them a blissful white light. The trees glow both bright and dim, some pulsating in unison with their neighbors, others relaying in a sequenced order down the rows of their brothers and sisters, speaking to one another in their own jargon, whispering and confirming, passing along information both vital and supplementary. In our coming, do they say, "We have guests," or it is rather, "There are intruders in our midst"? Perhaps they pay no heed to us at all, though this I very much dispute. Light spores and white petals trickle down from their leaves and heads and land gently upon the ground, accumulating and covering it for as far and wide as I can see. The vault of our covering is as though a river runs through it, defying reality, though surely this is not the case, and yet it reflects the territory, inverting its image as water does. Oh my, how many are the mysteries you conceal, and may one ever come to witness them all? I dare not ask that I may understand them, I only desire to behold them. The characteristic that is this forest's roots being situated above ground suggests to me that this environment acts in a paradoxical formula. They soak up Sa's light, which would ordinarily be the duty of the leaves, then in turn they ply the stored energy to feed the trees below. Since there is no direct hue from Sa seeping into this place, the vegetation has evolved to be colorless, and they emit their own luminescence. It is marvelous. Why not recognize the existence of light in the smothering darkness as one would the miraculous being of fire under water? We are standing in a buried and draping albino forest that is flourishing with organisms that I had not the vaguest idea subsisted. Our wonderful world never ceases to mystify itself and to engage with my curiosity.
Let us find this new master of yours. We mustn't waste any precious moments on sightseeing, Omani.
There is the insensitive and cursory half of the brute I have come to know. For some time now, I thought he had parted with his incivility and lack of awe. Initially, we tread carefully through these woodlands, attentive to our touch and step as to not be intrusive on what seems to be virgin grounds. Our pace slackens as the hours melt into one another. Wait. Hours? This isn't right. Didn't we just arrive down here? Why do my legs tire? I cannot feel my Am I thinking slower? Moving slowly, too?
Omani! Omani!
Who's yelling so loudly? Is that a wave in front of me?
Omani!
I gasp frantically as I hack the water from out of my lungs and wipe the excess from my eyes. Saba had dumped it over me. Was I unconscious?
Why did you run off like that?
Saba's demeanor is hostile and at the ready for engagement. What? Do you mean? You just roused me from my slumber. Hold on now. Was I not asleep? I rise and brace myself. I am unsure if what Saba sees before him is friend or foe in the moment.
You bolted off the moment we began exploring the forest. I could barely keep up, and when I at last caught you, I delivered a chop to your carotid artery. I assumed your kind as those, and I was correct in this assumption.
This is disturbing. We just arrived here, or so I believe. I feel around my nape, and surely enough there is a tender bruise. Exactly how long have we been here, Saba? He looks at me in utter confusion. He almost appears angry with me, as though I'd pretend or toy around about my confusion. I am not mocking you, Saba.
You really do not know, do you?
He leans in to closer observe my countenance. No, I don't. Be out with it. He's beginning to etch away at my patience. Saba drops his shoulders and alleviates his aggressive stance.
We've been here for nearly an entire day, Omani. It took me 7 hours just to catch and to subdue you. At times I lost sight of you and had to track you as one does his prey. Despite your subconscious behavior, your mobility was not at all constrained.
I am incredibly disassociated at the moment. So much so that I cannot even recount how many times my mind has been played with and pestered throughout this journey.
Welcome, my unexpected guests, to the Kath forest.
A matured female's voice jumps out at us from our right. Saba and I spring to the left, amuck and in fright. An abbreviated elder Omana in a garb skillfully fashioned from her surroundings extends her hand to us. Saba and I glance at one another, then back at her.
Come now. You ought not be so rude. I simply wish to explain to you as to why you're in that condition. Does your delirium not beckon for answers?
She smiles, and her deep wrinkles are tailored for the wise. For reasons unbeknownst to me, I can trust her. Saba, however, retains his defensive skepticism. I will approach her. You ought to keep your guard from here. Provide support if things get messy. I am certain that he finds receiving orders from me distasteful, but the grade of his paranoia greatly surpasses mine at this juncture. As I close the distance, she sits cross-legged and pats the ground before her.
Do sit, my child. Sit, sit. I sense a rather distinguishing trait from your You're special.
Her essence radiates an intense welcoming, yet her peculiar way of speaking says mountains of her isolation. Could this senior have been Yindra's master? I sit with her. At first, she simply stares and smiles at me, peering directly into my eyes. She twirls the feathered trinket of her earring in circles with her index finger as she studies me. Belatedly, she speaks.
I am Jai.
I am
Going to be sorry if you proceed to interrupt me. Do not err and confuse me for some harmless crone.
Jai immobilizes my introduction. She continues.
You are a wolf, a curious one, imbued with a soul. A spectacular soul indeed.
How do you... Her benevolent smile transforms into a bloodthirsty display of murderous intent. I leap backwards, but she's already behind me, arms wrapped around my neck, constricting my movement. She's the size of a sapling, yet her strength elucidates otherwise. The Omana that sat before me was a false image. The true one tightens and narrows her choke. Saba dashes towards us.
Command, obey.
She declares her first ability, but what does it entail? I see no change. Saba equips his curved blade, feigns a high cut, but keeps spinning with the intent to deliver his sword into her lower ribs.
Freeze.
And Saba abides. Even I cannot move, and not because of her stranglehold. I cannot so much as move my eyes without struggle.
Sit.
Jai issues another order through her hushed tone. Saba and I sit flat on the ground, and Jai releases her choke on me.
Now, you will hearken to what I have to say. Speak again, and I will snatch your voices.
You filthy little...
Saba revolts, but is cut off abruptly.
Silence, Tamasu.
Again she whispers, directing her decree toward him alone, and it is final. Redirecting her attention to me, she continues where we left off.
Your soul. It is rare, infrequent. Scarce. Dare I say it is one of a kind.
I cannot discern whether or not she's being rhetorical. I shall keep my lips sealed for now.
Yes, good. You're learning already.
She smiles benevolently once again.
I ought to procure a sample of your abilities, no?
What could she mean? With her right index and middle finger, Jai gently presses the tips into my forehead.
Command. Sample. Ah, impressive. You have a wide range of commands.
She nods repeatedly in approval.
I shall borrow from you this one so that we may accelerate this whole process. Command. Infiltrate.
She utters one of my very own commands. No. No. It is not possible. Before I can fully understand what's happening, everything goes blank. I am put aside in an all-spanning whiteness, removed from my own autonomy, but forced to watch as Jai flips through my memories as though they were simply pages of my life. So this is what it is like to be precluded from intervening between those livid experiences belonging to me and someone who casually sits through them. I come to with Jai tenderly patting the side of my head.
You've been through a great deal, N.
No doubt about it. She knows everything. She is now revealed to me without the faintest suspicion as Yindra's master.